What is up, everybody, and welcome to JohnnyKpicks. And you know what time it is? It is the event we've all been waiting for ever since it was announced. UFC 280. This card is gonna be amazing. I cannot wait for it. But yeah, I'll be going over my picks, predictions, along with my bets so far for UFC 280 Oliveira versus Makhachev. But before we dive in, please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And don't forget to turn on the notifications because there's going to be a lot of content coming from my channel this week. We're going to do a live stream, me and Cody from Blood Money MMA Bets on Wednesday like we usually do. And we're also going to do a pay-per-view live stream Friday night before the fights. You'll get alerts. I'm going to send it out later this week, but definitely tune in and subscribe. So UFC Vegas 62 just took place, and overall, it was a pretty decent card. There wasn't any fights last weekend before that, so I was just jacked for this card to happen no matter what. Kind of mad the Askarov and Royval fight got scrapped, but like I said, overall, it was a pretty good card. For my picks, I ended up going 10-1, and for my bets, I ended up winning plus 1.13 units profit. So I'm sure everyone had Henry in their parlays, and all those parlays got busted like mine. But other than that, I thought my bets were pretty good. Like I said, I had Henry on a money line, and he lost. And I also had the under 2.5 in that fight, which I kind of thought it was going to end early, but it didn't. Sun Sao looked really good countering, and he looked pretty tough in there. And some of the fighters that I was very impressed with was Taira and Jonathan Martinez. Taira, again, looked very composed. He had good striking, very good grappling. He showed off more grappling abilities this time than he did last time. He eventually got that armbar sub, and he transitioned to that very well, too. So I'm very impressed with him. Like I said, he's very young. He still's got a lot of room for growth, but I like what I see so far. And with Jonathan Martinez, I think he finally got the credit that he's due. He's got very good leg kicks, and you seen in that fight, he was hurting Cub all night long with the low leg kicks, with the body kicks, and even some head kicks too. And actually, his boxing looked very good as well. So overall, it was a very good win for him. I was impressed. He didn't get rocked this time like he usually does or get knocked down. But I don't know. I just don't know if Cub should be a bantamweight. I think he should stay in the featherweight division if he wants to continue fighting. It just wasn't a good look for him. He just looked slower. He looked a little bit gassed after the first, and eventually he got finished with those leg kicks. All right, guys, let's get to what you've all been waiting for, and let's jump into my picks and predictions for UFC 280. The first fight we have is Lena Lansberg versus Karol Rosa. Lansberg is 10-6, 40 years old, 5'7" with a 65.5-inch reach. And Rosa is 15-4, 27 years old, 5'5" with a 67.5-inch reach. So to start off the night, this looks like a pretty fun fight, actually. I think it's going to be mainly played out on the feet, but both fighters are mainly strikers. But they both have some wrestling and takedown abilities if they do want to go for that. I would say Rosa's wrestling is just a little bit better if they do, but I honestly like Rosa's striking as well. I think she's a little bit more technical. She's got pretty decent power in her hands. But I will say Lansberg is very good in the clinch. She has very good Muay Thai elbows and knees and stuff like that. And she's not afraid to get crazy and brawl it up, because if you've seen her in her last fight, she was all bloody and she was still in there raring to go, wanting to throw strikes. But I like Rosa in this fight. I think she's just the more technical striker. Lansberg is 40 years old, and she's kind of low volume as well, so it's just not a good combo for me. So I like Rosa to win this one, and I think she'll win by decision. Next fight we have is Muhammad Mokaev versus Malcolm Gordon. Mokaev is 7-0, 22 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, and Gordon is 14-5, 32 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Okay, so this is definitely one of the fighters that I'm always excited to watch, but Mokaev is a monster. He has great wrestling, great takedowns. He's got pretty good striking as well with good submissions. And Gordon is a solid UFC veteran. He's well-rounded as well with his striking and ground game, but I just think Mokaev is on a different level than Gordon right now. And not to mention, in all of Gordon's losses, he's been finished, whether it's by knockout or submission, and I think it's going to be another finish here. I do think Mokaev is going to use his wrestling and takedowns and work his BJJ and maybe take his back and get the rear naked sub, or maybe he wraps up a guillotine, something like that. So with my pick here, I'm going to go with Mokaev to win by a submission. Moving on up the card, we have Armen Petrosyan versus AJ Dobson. Petrosyan is 6'2", 31 years old, 6'3", with a 71-inch reach, and Dobson is 6'1", 30 years old, 6'1", with a 76-inch reach. Okay, so this is a solid fight, actually. Petrosyan's a very good kickboxer. He's got good striking, good leg kicks, decent power in his hands, and he likes to throw a lot of volume. But his little red flag so far in the UFC has been his takedown defense, but he has shown that he has a good get-up game, and he does have good submission defense as well. And Dobson is a pretty well-rounded fighter. He's got okay striking. He's got good takedowns and wrestling. But once he gets you on the ground, he goes for more ground and pound than submissions. And I think if he does get Petrosyan to the ground, I think Petrosyan will be able to get up because he doesn't really have good top control. And another little red flag for Dobson for me is his cardio. In his last fight, he looked good in the first round, and then as the fight went on after that, he started to slow down. But that could have been because he was fighting Jacob Malkoun, and he was going for takedown after takedown after takedown, and maybe that wore out on him, but I just think Petrosyan's going to have the huge advantage on the feet here, and if he does get taken down, I think he'll be able to work himself back up and just start striking again. So I really like Petrosyan to win this one. So with my pick, I'm going to say Petrosyan wins this one by a late knockout, maybe late second or third round. Next fight we have is Abubakar Nurmagomedov versus Gadzi Omargadzhiev. Nurmagomedov is 16-3-1, 32 years old, 5'11", with a 73-inch reach. And Gadzi is 13-1, 29 years old, 6'1", with a 71.5-inch reach. So yeah, try saying both those names 5 times fast, and I'm surprised I did pretty decent with that. But anyways, I think this fight's going to be very close. Both guys have good striking and good wrestling. I would say Nurmagomedov has the better striking a little bit. I think he's a little bit more technical. He has good power in his hands as well. But the wrestling, it's very close. So if it does go to the mat, I'm not sure who has the better wrestling. It's going to be WrestleMania if you want to say, but I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov here just ever so slightly. Like I said, I think he's better on the feet, and if this does go to the mat, I don't see anyone submitting one another, and I think it'll be closer on the mat, but I'm going to go with Nurmagomedov to win this one, and I think it's going to go to decision. Next fight we have is Yamato Nishikawa versus Magomed Mustafaev. Yamato is 21-3-6, 19 years old, 5'7", and I'm not sure his reach. And Magomed is 14-4, 34 years old, 5'8", with a 71-inch reach. So right off the bat, Yamato's making his UFC debut on short notice. He's 19 years old, and he has over 30 professional fights already, and that's crazy. But he's pretty tough. He's got solid grappling and takedowns. He's got decent striking, but he's kind of hittable at times. And Magomed is a very good wrestler and decent striker. He's got good kicks. He does get taken down a little too easily for my liking, but he does get up very well, and he has good reversals when he's on his back. And this fight may be a little bit closer if Yamato had a little bit more UFC experience and it wasn't on short notice, but I'm going to go with Magomed here. I just think he's going to be the overall better fighter. I think he's going to be able to get those takedowns, and he's going to be a little bit better on the feet and land the more damaging strikes if it plays out on the feet. So with my pick, I'm going to go with Magomed to win, and I'm going to say it's by decision. Moving on up the card, we have Zubaria Tukhugov versus Lucas Almeida. Zubaria is 25-1, 31 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. And Almeida is 14-1, 31 years old, 5'11", with a 71-inch reach. So Zubaria is a good wrestler. He's got good takedowns, but he's not the greatest on the feet. He's kind of wild at times, has decent power though, but he can be hittable as well. And with Almeida, he's a very good striker, very technical. He's got good boxing and leg kicks. He also does have good grappling if this fight does go to the mat. But the only little red flag for me, though, is his takedown defense is not the greatest. So I'm a little worried about that, but I'm going to go with Almeida here. I just think he's the better overall fighter. And I really think he has a huge advantage on the feet. If he can stuff the majority of those takedowns and get this fight to the later rounds, I think he'll have a good chance of winning this one. So with my pick, I'm going to go with the underdog here and say Almeida wins this one by a decision. Next fight we have is Volkan Oezdemir versus Nikita Krylov. Oezdemir is 18-6. 33 years old, 6'2", with a 75-inch reach. And Krylov is 28-9, 30 years old, 6'3", with a 77.5-inch reach. All right, so this is going to be another close fight, but Volkan is a very good striker. He's got good power in his hands. He doesn't really go to the ground, but he's got very good takedown defense. And make no mistake about it, he wants to keep this fight on the feet. And Krylov is super well-rounded, very good striking, good power. He does have good wrestling and grappling, and I do think he should try to mix in those takedowns every once in a while at least, because on the feet, this is going to be a very close fight, and I don't know what side to pick if that's the case, but I'm going to go with Krylov here. I think he can use that wrestling, at least go for some takedowns and push Volkan up against the cage at the very least and try to tire him out a little bit as the fight goes on. But if he can't get that done, this is going to be a very close fight, like I said. So with my pick, I'm going to go with Krylov to win this one, and I do think it'll go to decision. Next fight we have is Muradov versus Caio Borralho. Muradov is 25-7, 32 years old, 6'2", with a 75.5-inch reach. And Caio is 12-1, 29 years old. He's not 5'10", he's about 6'1", and a 75-inch reach. So like I said just there, Caio is not 5'10". He has to be about 6'1 or 6'2". So just so you know, I don't know why Tapology hasn't switched that yet because he's very tall. But I cannot wait for this one. Muradov is a good striker with good power. He does have some wrestling in his back pocket, but he's mainly a striker and wants to keep it on the feet. And with Caio, he is very well-rounded. He's got good technical striking. He's got good takedowns and good grappling with submissions. And in this fight, I am all over Caio. I just think he's going to be too much for Muradov, especially on the mat. On the feet, it could be a little bit closer, but I still do favor Borralho with his technical striking. I think he'll be able to touch up Muradov more so than he can. And I do think Caio will test the striking out in the beginning, and after maybe a round or so, he'll be able to work in that grappling very easily here. So with my pick, I'm going to go with Borralho to win this one, and I do think he gets that late sub, maybe in the late second or third round. Next fight we have is Belal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. Muhammad is 21-3, 34 years old, 5'11", with a 72-inch reach. And Brady is 15-0, 29 years old, 5'10", with a 72.5-inch reach. All right, so this fight starts off all the fights that are going to be super amazing and I cannot wait for. But both these guys are very solid fighters all around. They got decent striking, they got good wrestling and good takedowns. I will say Brady does have the grappling edge a bit, maybe with his BJJ and submissions, but Belal's fight IQ is off the charts for me. He just knows when to do the right thing at the right time, whether it's a takedown, whether it's move out of the way and not get hit and then go for the takedowns. He's just crazy like that. But Brady is a very good prospect. He's very well-rounded, like I said. This is going to be a very, very close fight, and I was going back and forth. But every time I pick against Belal, he wins. And every time I pick Belal, he wins. So I'm going to go with Belal here and roll the dice. I know a lot of people are going to pick Brady here, and I don't blame you one bit, but I just like Belal's fight IQ. I think he might have a slight edge in the striking, but it's so close, I don't even know. It's just going to be a really close fight, and I do think this will go to decision one way or another, but with my pick, I'm going to go with Muhammad to edge out Brady here, maybe even by a split decision, but I think Belal is going to do it. Moving on up the card, we have Caitlin Chookagian versus Manon Fiorot. Chookagian is 18-4, 33 years old, 5'9", with a 68-inch reach. And Fiorot is 9-1, 32 years old, 5'7", with a 66-inch reach. All right, so another great fight here. I'm very interested to see this fight play out. But both fighters are very good technical strikers that throw tons of volume. They got good boxing, good kicks, good pressure. Chookagian will have the 2-inch height and reach advantage in this fight, and I do think that'll help her with keeping her range. And we all know Chookagian likes to do the Chookagian scream and try to get those punches landed when they're just hitting air, but I'm gonna go with the underdog here. I know it's crazy. I'm just banking on Chookagian's experience here. She's fought the better competition. This is gonna be a big step up for Fiorot because Chookagian is one of the top 2 or 3 fighters in the flyweight division. And if she wins this fight, good for her. Then we know that she's the real deal and she's a contender. And I'm not saying she never can be because she's very good. But like I said, I'm going to go with Chookagian here. I think she does have a grappling advantage as well if it does get to the mat. And I think both fighters are going to trade back and forth on the feet. And if Chookagian can keep her range, I think she'll do good, and it's going to be a very close fight. So with my pick, I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to say Chookagian edges this one out by a decision. Next fight we have is Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot. Dariush is 21-4-1, 33 years old, 5'10 with a 72-inch reach. And Gamrot is 21-1, 31 years old, 5'10 with a 70.5-inch reach. So this is a very good fight in the lightweight division. For both these guys can be contenders very soon. But Dariush is a very well-rounded fighter. He's got good striking, good wrestling, good BJJ. Anywhere this fight goes, he's going to be solid at the very least. But he is coming off an injury, which is a little concerning. And with Gamrot, he's known for his wrestling and takedowns. He does have decent striking, as we saw in his last fight. I think Dariush has the striking edge here. The wrestling edge, I'll probably give to Gamrot. And the BJJ edge here, I'm going to have to give to Dariush too. So this is a close fight. And I know I just said Dariush might have the edge in this one overall, but I'm just a little worried about that injury coming off. And Gamrot just recently fought too, and he looked pretty good. And if he can perform the same way as he did in that last fight, I think he'll be able to edge this one out. All these fights are really close for me, so I'm going to go with Gamrot, like I said. And I don't see a finish either. I think this will go to decision, and it might end up being another split. So with my pick, I'm going with Gamrot to win by decision. Next fight we have is Petrosyan versus Sean O'Malley. Yan is 16-3, 29 years old, 5'7 with a 67-inch reach. And O'Malley is 15-1, 27 years old, 5'11 with a 72-inch reach. So this is going to be a great fight. Both guys are mainly strikers. Yan does have some good wrestling, but they both have good technical striking, good leg kicks, good counters, and good power. I will say though, Yan likes to push forward a lot, but he needs to get going in that first round, because if he likes to do what he does in the first round, I don't know if he's going to be able to win this fight. Also, O'Malley's going to have the 4-inch height and 5-inch reach advantage. So if he can keep his range throughout this whole fight, he's going to do very well here. And I know this has been brought up numerous times about O'Malley, but I am a little worried about those leg kicks. Pedro Munoz was kicking O'Malley's leg pretty good, and Yan can do the same thing, maybe not to the same extent, because Pedro does have very good leg kicks, but I think Yan can touch up those legs. And if he can do that early, that's going to play big dividends as the fight goes on. I do think this fight will play out closer than the line says, but I gotta go with Yan here. I just think he's fought the better competition. He's going to be able to get into O'Malley's range, and he's going to be able to get in that boxing pocket and do good things in there, maybe get those combos going. He's going to get those leg kicks going, and if that happens, maybe he will steamroll O'Malley, but we haven't seen O'Malley get steamrolled yet, so I don't want to say that. But I do think Yan wins this one. But there is a chance that O'Malley can pull this one off. I'm not saying he can't get that knockout or maybe touch him up more so. But with my pick, though, I'm going to go with Yan to win this one, and I do think it'll go to decision. All right, co-main event time here. We have Aljamain Sterling versus TJ Dillashaw. Sterling is 21-3, 33 years old, 5'7 with a 71-inch reach. And Dillashaw is 17-4, 36 years old, 5'6 with a 67-inch reach. All right, so this might be the fight that I'm like the least excited for out of the main card, but I'm still excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a fun one. But Sterling is a very good grappler. He's got very good submissions. He's got pretty solid striking, actually. But he does want to get this fight to the mat. That's where he feels the most comfortable, especially if he can take the back of Dillashaw. It'll be an easy fight for him. Only little red flag for me with him is his cardio does tend to fade as the fight goes on. But he does have at least 3 rounds of cardio, so we'll see what happens if this fight does get past the 3rd round. And with TJ, he's got good striking with very good power. He does have some wrestling, but I wouldn't say he wants to get this fight to the mat. I think he's going to want to keep this fight standing. But this is another fight that I was kind of torn to pick, and I kept going back and forth, but I'm going to go with Aljo to get this one done. I think he'll be able to get the takedowns eventually, and maybe in some weird transitions he can maybe take TJ's back or something like that. But on the feet, it's going to be close, but I'm going to put my trust in Aljo. He's a champion. If he can get that grappling working early, I think he'll be able to at least win 3 rounds and win this one by decision. And maybe if TJ's not careful, maybe he can get that sub. So with my pick, I'm going to go with Aljo to win this one, and I think it's going to be another close one, and he's going to win by decision. All right, main event time here. We have Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev. Oliveira is 33-8, 33 years old, 5'10 with a 74-inch reach. And Makhachev is 22-1, 31 years old, 5'10 with a 70.5-inch reach. All right, boys and girls, here we are. The main event of the year, I'm gonna say. This fight is gonna be bonkers. And if you watched our live streams before, you probably already know where I'm going with this, but I'm gonna break it down as an unbiased fan, and then I will be a fanboy for my favorite fighter. So Oliveira is known for his grappling. He's got amazing submissions, and his striking looks amazing. He's got good power in those hands. He likes to push forward. He's got very good knees in the clinch, and he just goes straight for his opponent, and he doesn't care if he gets hit or not, which that can be a problem because we have seen him get rocked a couple times as of late, but I'm kind of questionable about that because a lot of times I feel like he's not really rocked. He just goes on his back to maybe clear the cobwebs just a touch, or maybe to see if his opponent will follow him to the mat into his guard, because I don't think he cares if the fight goes to the mat or on the feet. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just what I think. And with Makhachev, he's a very good wrestler, very good takedowns. He does have good submissions as well. On the feet, I do think it's a work in progress, but he's not horrible by any means. He's got solid striking, he's got solid power as well. But I think the advantage goes to Charles Oliveira on the feet. I just don't see Islam wanting to even attempt to strike with Charlie. I think he's going to shoot for those takedowns early in this fight. And we're going to see which fighter has the better wrestling and grappling. On the mat, though, I think both guys are very close. They both have different styles, obviously, so it's hard to say which one has the better grappling on the mat. But like I said, on the feet, I'm giving this one to Charlie Olives, and because of that, I'm going with Charlie Oliveira to win this one. He's just going to have the big advantage on the feet, I think. On the mat, it's going to be very close. He's always live for a submission. I know Islam has never been submitted before, but Oliveira has the most submissions in UFC history for a reason. So if that doesn't make Islam worried, then I don't know what will. Maybe being knocked out, because that's what he really should be worried about. But yeah, like I said, I'm all over Charlie Olives here. Once the lines came out, I immediately bet that underdog price for Charlie Olives to win. And I just think he has all the momentum in the world right now. I know he kind of lost his belt due to the weight cut issue, but he's finished the top guys in the lightweight division his last 3 or 4 fights. He's going to Abu Dhabi in Islam's backyard, basically. And I just think a lot of pressure is on Islam. Islam wants to get out of the shadow of Khabib, and this is the time to do it. He's going to have a lot of pressure for all the fans that he's going to be from over there as well. I don't want to say Islam doesn't have a chance. He does have a good chance. I really think this line should be closer to a pick'em. I'm not exactly sure why it's not. And for me, my favorite fighter, I'm going with Charlie Olives. I'm going to say he does get that submission, but it's not going to be like a traditional submission. I do think Oliveira will be able to maybe get like a club and sub kind of thing, maybe rock him, and once he's a little bit wobbled or stunned, he'll be able to jump on like a guillotine, or maybe even jump on his back and get that rear naked choke. So with my pick, with my unbiased pick, with my fanboy pick, I'm going with Charlie Olives to win, and I'm going to say it's going to be by submission. And I just want to say sorry to all the Islam backers. Please don't kill me in the comments section. But alright guys, those are my picks and predictions, so let's jump into my bets so far for UFC 280. The first bet I have is a 2-leg parlay. I bet 1.25 units on Borralho and the over 2.5 rounds in the Jan O'Malley fight, and I got that at plus 118. So like I said earlier, I'm all over Borralho here. I think he's going to have the massive advantage on the ground. I think he's going to have the better grappling, better wrestling, and I do think he'll eventually wrap up that submission over Muradov. And the over 2.5 rounds in the Jan O'Malley fight, I think both guys are tough. They're both going to show off their striking, and it's going to be a little slow at times, I think. So I think this will definitely go over the 2.5 round mark. Not exactly sure who's going to win, but I said Jan, but it could be closer than the line says. But I like the over way better than trying to pick a side here. And my second bet is a straight bet. I bet 1 unit on Oliveira to win, and I got that at plus 150. So like I just said earlier, I really like Oliveira in this matchup. I think he's going to have the huge advantage on the feet, on the mat. It's going to be very close, but I do think he's going to be able to stay safe at the very least. Maybe get a couple reversals here and there, and maybe he can get on top. And we'll see if Islam is good off his back, because I don't think there has been a lot of times where he got taken down and just held down on the mat on his back. So we'll see. This is going to be a very good fight. I'm going with the underdog here, and I just don't understand why this is even plus money for either one of these guys. And the third bet I have is another straight bet that I put in July of this year when the lines just came out, but I bet 2.5 units on Charlie Oliveira to win, and I got that at plus 200. So yeah, I just went over why I think he's going to win. This line is way off to me, especially when it opened up at plus 200. I jumped all over it. This is going to be like my biggest bet of my UFC career on Charlie Olives. And you know what? If he doesn't win, that's fine. This fight should be closer to a pick'em. I don't understand why it's not like minus 110, plus 110, something like that, either side here. And I might even add on to Oliveira later in the week if the line continues to go back up, because I think it was at plus 130 at one point for Oliveira, but it started going back up. So we'll see what happens. So stay tuned for that. But all right, guys, picks, predictions, bets so far for UFC 280. This is going to be an amazing card. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And as I said earlier, be on the lookout for a couple live streams this week when me and Cody from Blood Money MMA Bets go over all our picks on Wednesday night. And then Friday night, we're going to have a couple other MMA cappers on there, and we're going to go over all of our picks again and bets included. So you don't want to miss either one of these. Also, be sure to check on my Instagram, my Twitter, and in the comment section of this video for any of my bets that I add throughout the week. And I'm almost positive that this is going to be a great night of fights. So everybody enjoy the fights this weekend. And until next time, go Oliveira.